If you're just joining us, guys, somebody would just give me a quick sound check, make sure you can hear me, and we'll go ahead and get started. Sound check, please. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll run through this. We're going to do this kind of briefly. There's not really too much action going on across the market, so no big deal. But we're just going to look and just kind of take and see what's going on. So let's check out Bitcoin right now. Let's turn off our volume. Let's go ahead and turn off our moving averages just so we can see our candles here. Okay, so overall, let's zoom out to our daily. Overall on Bitcoin, we still seem to be in a downtrend. Okay, so let me put this back on here. We did have this nice big rising wedge that was posted in my Bitcoin channel. That I told everybody to keep an eye on and watch, because this was a very long, big rising wedge there that was bound to break out of it. And I think we pointed out up here just a few days ago, last week or so, to watch these candle rejections right here and to watch this price action kind of flatten out right here, like we just saw with these 4 candles. We should expect to see that drop, which we did. It was a pretty good drop. So now we were looking for that 9,200 range. So we were looking to catch the bottom of this support zone here and matching up all the way over here to some of these wicks right here, and we just stopped just a little bit short of it there. It looks like by me about 2%, 1.5%, not even 1.5%. So we barely just missed that support range, but we're still overall on a macro level right now in a downtrend. So in order for that downtrend to be invalidated, we would have to hold above this support zone and kind of consolidate to bounce back up. So that's what we're looking for. If we break 9,200, I mean, yeah, we're certainly going down. So if we come down and test 9,200 and break it, then we're going to start to fall, and we're going to start chopping down into the lower 8,000s around that 8,200 mark, which is what pretty well all of Twitter is looking for, to break this first level of support and chop down and go all the way down to 8,200. Now 8,200 on a macro level, I mean, I know there's a lot of people waiting on 7,700 all the way down here, but I think that might be just a little too deep. So in order for this whole structure to be bullish on a macro level, I think 8,200, and this is probably somewhere around that 0.6 fib line, somewhere maybe, to make a higher low here. So for the bulls to really still take control of Bitcoin on a high time frame, going into the next several months. I mean, here we are going into spring. We would have to hold over that 8,200 area. But we shouldn't consider waiting on 8,200 if the bears can't break below 9,200. So this is what we're looking at on a macro level. So we're overall in a downtrend, but of course we first have to break 9,200. So we are holding above it there. Now zooming down just a little bit here on these lower time frames, I'll jump down to the 6 hour. Got a little bit of a bullish divergence right there. I think we noted this in the last update. And here we are, a little divergence on the MACD, and we did kind of wick and make some lower lows there. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. Got a little bit of a bullish divergence. However, look at our RSI. We are still overall in a downtrend. So this looks like it may be a bit of a dead cat bounce. So I'm not expecting this to be sustained, because if we zoom back out to higher time frames, look at our 3-day MACD rolling over, getting ready to cross under. And our 2-day MACD did already cross under. So I'm expecting this to hold under these levels. So this is our support. And let's look where our resistance zone is. Oop, that's kind of big. I didn't mean to make that so big. Okay, so in one of the last updates, just the other day before this big drop, I pointed out this double top here. So you see this wick and this wick right here off of these two candles right there. This was a pretty bearish sign. That double top rejection, that the bulls failed to break on up into this territory to start testing this previous high. So if we can't break back up into this territory, then the bears are going to be taking full control. And so now, as the price keeps dropping and we keep going lower and lower, so does our resistance. So now I'm expecting us to hold under about that 9,900 to 10,000 mark. For resistance. We can maybe even bring that down. Well, that's still about 9,900. That's still fine. Okay, so let's turn on our moving averages here. So look at our 7-day moving average. We broke underneath that 100-day moving average, and that's a pretty bearish sign when moving averages cross under each other like that. So we're still overall in a downtrend. So I am expecting something to just kind of wiggle, catch a little bounce for a low time frame bullish reset, and then we trend back down, because that is what the higher time frames are looking like. So any bounces, any pops, we're going to short, and we're not going to open any longs unless we can close over this 9,900 area up to 10,000 and we just start trailing back up. But it's not looking like it from a macro level. I think we're going to come down some more. At least that's what the current 3-day is showing us here, because we are about to cross under bearish there, and our indicators seem to be trending down. Now, from a weekly standpoint, let me close those out. From a weekly standpoint, this is looking pretty rough. These are two bearish spinning tops. Okay, so we still have an uptrend in our 7-day moving average. Our candles are still up above that 7-day moving average. So we can really grind this out over the next, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks. We can hang out up in this area. So as that 7-day comes up, if this is going to trend and roll back down, that 7-day has to roll over and trend down to see that 8,200 or the 8,200 price. So we could very well I'm just going to grab these here and steal them. And then make those a little bit smaller. So we could very well hang out up above and range in between about 92, 9,300 and that $10,000 mark. We could very well range up there too. And that's what this is showing me by these two bearish spinning tops. So this next weekly is going to be crucial, and see how that price reacts, because if that rolls over and then curls back down, that MACD is going down with it. So if this were to snap back bull, bulls would really need to step in before Sunday on this close and really push that back up and close this candle at about 10.2 and flip this candle green. Otherwise, this is what I'm seeing on a weekly time frame. So what this means for alts is if we're going to range up here for, I mean, what looks like probably another month, maybe a couple more weeks, alts can have some room to move. Now, another thing that we're looking at on this weekly time frame, here's a high and we put in a lower high. So we're still on a macro level putting in lower highs. The good sign is here's our low, here's a higher low. So now we just have to watch to see whether if this is going to come down and test somewhere in that 7,000 range over the next several weeks, maybe months even, going into summer. Going into summer in the next few months, and then once again make another higher low. So that would be that bullish case if we test either 7,700 or 8,200 and then push back up. Otherwise, if we fail and we get anywhere close to that 7,200 mark and fail, we're going down. So it's very, very critical right here, just because of these two spinning top candles right there. That is not painting a really great sign for the bulls. So bulls really need to step in right there. We're going to roll over. So let me delete that. Let me go back down here. So given that, all right, so let me put this back out here. So let's look at where our support levels are. Okay, so we can't consider shorting until we break below this support line, because if you were to short right now, you're kind of shorting in that mid range. And I also wouldn't short down this low because you're technically shorting into support up here. So now here's our resistance. So if you're on the sidelines, so here's our support, here's our resistance, and we're kind of in that chop zone in the middle. So if you're not in a position, or if you're looking for a position, watch to see if we happen to test this area and we hold it again, and then you can long it up. Or if you're looking for shorts, let's see if the bulls can bring us back up to this area somewhere around that 10,000 mark. That was a little too high. My mouse just kind of went nuts on me there. See if the bulls can bring us back up to, that 10,000, 10.2 area, and see if we reject once again here, and then you can open up shorts and let them ride down. But in between zones, so it's very important to, when you're looking at a chart or when you're opening up a chart, to throw down where your support levels are and your resistance levels. So we're kind of in that mid-between zone, so it's not really a good place to take a position in either direction. It's chop. This is a chop zone. Okay, so this was a great call up here for the shorts on that double top. We were looking for that 9,200, and we missed it by 1.5% to long it back up. So we kind of got front ran right in the center of this confluence zone. So both really, really good calls, even though we were just a small or a tad low re-grabbing that long. So my advice, guys, is stay out of this chop zone. Stay out of the mid-ranges, which is this whole middle section right here. So we either long if the support holds once again down here above 9,300, 9,200, and we can long it back up to test 10.2, or where you can short it if we get that bounce up to 10,000 to 10,200 and then ride that back down, because this almost looks like a distribution channel. So if you're familiar with Wickoff, Here is our accumulation. Okay, that's a really ugly trend line, so don't mind that there. Okay, so this is our accumulation. Here is our markup zone, and now we are in this channel up here, which is a redistribution or distribution zone, in which case we'll do this, and then we might see that mark down. And that's how a wick-off pattern works. So let me show you. No, I don't want to go to Wick-off, New Jersey. Okay, so this is what I was trying to show you guys right here with my funky little Bitcoin chart. Okay, so here is our accumulation pattern, and here is our markup. So if we are in that same pattern here with Bitcoin, here's our accumulation, here is our markup, and then this section area that we're in right now is the distribution pattern up here at this top. And if we fail to rally and break new highs over, that 10.5 area, then that will be the top 10.4, 10.5. That'll be that top right up here for this failed rally, which is this little blue one right up here at the very top. And then we'll start to snake its way back down, and then we'll rest at about 7,700 or 7,200 or so before catching the next wave or the next wick-off accumulation or something. So that's Bitcoin. I advise to stay out of this chop zone right here. We are in technically a mid-range. Okay, so here's our support confluence, here's our resistance confluence that's building, and we're kind of just right there in that range. So I personally would not advise taking a position on Bitcoin unless you got some experience in scalping and you're just taking some quick trades. Okay, so let's look at dominance. Let's see what dominance is going to do for our altcoins. Okay, so I had an alert set here I had an alert set to alert me when dominance kind of hit this 61.5 level, because I was really looking for a test of dominance for a bounce right around here at 60. Right off the tops of these candles right here, but we kind of got front ran just a little bit right there at 62. So dominance on a weekly level is overall in a downtrend as well. Our RSI is kind of bottoming. Look at these dominance drop candles right here. All this selling pressure or I guess dumping on the dominance. That's a lot. Quite literally the most ever. So that's a good sign for alts in the coming weeks, coming months. But there are going to be, those alt dips, alt time frames that we're going to see those alt pullbacks before bigger pushes. So here we are testing right here off of this 2-day, 200-day moving average, and we're looking like a dead cat bounce right here. So I don't expect dominance to shoot up too high. Just maybe come up just a little bit and stay under 67 or so and fall back. Even though that's 3 points, I still think that's a little high, but we are overall in a downtrend, which is a good sign. So here we are, on 2 week. So the next 2 weeks still showing downtrend, and the 3 week just went under. So this is a good sign for altcoins over a much longer period of time. So if you are swing trading alts and you're looking for a couple month long hold on alts, I think they're still overall in a good position for some long-term buys. So really important here, we're going to lose the 20-day moving average right here. So on those lower time frames, as I pointed out, we should stay under 67, and which would be right here at the tip of the 3-week, 7-day moving average. So that, look at our candles here. We are now under that 7-day moving average as resistance. So I expect dominance to stay under and then just kind of work its way and wiggle its way down over the next, probably the rest of the year, down to about 50, down here at the support at 51 dominance. I hope it reaches that low, because that would mean altcoins would flip Bitcoin and outperform Bitcoin for the rest of the year, which wouldn't surprise me given some of these updates and partnerships that we see coming out. Some of these altcoins have been open and in business for over 2 years, so they're gaining some development. They're really starting to push their protocols, which is really great. And I still believe altcoins are what's going to bring mass adoption to crypto. So altcoins for the rest of the year, to me, look pretty good. God, so much dumping on the dominance there. This is a great sign to see. Love to see it. So okay, so let's get into some altcoins. All right, so first up, let's look at Raven Coin. Okay, so Raven is one that we've been following, and this has so far been absolutely right on track to what we're watching. So here is our all-time lows down here at about 290, that 275, 280 mark. So we should be holding over that. So what we were looking for is quite literally what it's doing right here. So look at our 7-day moving average. It's kind of got this little kick right here, like it's trying to kind of round out that corner and consolidate and hopefully hold over this pink line right here, which is the 100-day moving average. We did get that wick down to the lower 300s. I still think it can wick down here to about 296 or something off of these wicks right here and off of this bottom. So I think it's still a possibility. Let me clean that up a little bit there. Okay, so this is our major confluence area of support right here above 300. You see all of these candles confluence right here in this green block zone. But it would not surprise me to see a flash crash wick or something on the next big Bitcoin move to fill this area down here and fill in that catch that wick down there to 295, 296. So it's not a bad place to ladder in if you're looking for some long-term swings. I think Raven still looks pretty good. Still wanting to see it hold over 300, but again, there is that chance that it'll wick down to 290s. And they've been putting out some pretty good updates lately. And I was kind of impressed with that. So if we zoom out to the weekly, weekly is still oops, what in the world was that? Weekly is still technically overall in an uptrend. Not a great candle right there. This is a nasty rejection. Thank you to Bitcoin. But we are still technically... We did still technically reject off of the top of that trend line just as predicted. But I still hope to see a recovery. And maybe come back up and test that 400 range. At least on the next weekly candle, and then see if we can break this trend line, because this is itching for a long-term breakout. Look at the 2-week. 2-week is in an uptrend, and we got a little separation right here in the MACD lines. Although we're not still quite in that positive yet on the MACD. We are still below the histograms. So this may take a couple more weeks, months even. Snake back up, maybe one more down, and then going into spring, we finally get that breakout. I hope a lot sooner than that. So let me go back to 12-hour. So honestly, guys, with the crash on alts from Bitcoin, I'm not expecting any kind of significant or major moves. At least for 2 to 3 more weeks, mid-March maybe, for these to reconsolidate and start putting out some more updates or partnerships or whatever. Good volume though. Look at the volume right here leading up to this push. It was still a really great volume. And even here, now that we're in this reaccumulation zone, we still got pretty decent volume as compared to the previous chart history. So there's a good increase in volume. So we should see hopefully a significant move soon, but unfortunately not anytime soon. But we don't want to see any major breakdowns either. So be on watch for this 290 to 300 zone to really kind of load a swing bag. But for now, what I want to see is I want to see this consolidation pattern right here for the 7-day moving average going into next month. Okay, and that's going to be the same for Komodo. Komodo's another one that we're watching pretty heavy. I mean, so far this has been pretty well spot on with what we've been keeping track of. So again, here is the 7-day moving average, and here is the 100-day moving average on this 12-hour time frame. And I want to see that 7-day just kind of hold that support over the 100-day moving average and consolidate above. Something like this with the price candles, hopefully as well. Going into, you know, middle of next month, early next month or something before getting that reversal pattern. But again, we also should be on watch for a crash down to the 680s on a wick, because here are some pretty heavy candle confluence zones right here, and there's a nice little wick right there and a nice another bottom wick right there. So it can still wick down to about that 690, and at the same time it can still put in a higher low right there, which would be great. Because if we break this, if we break down sub 640 and make a new low from here, then it's quite likely this coin is fried and it'll go back down to the double bottom at the 500s, which we don't want to see. So we want to see a nice hold here over 680 to 700. Ideally, we still want to see us hold over the 720s though, and not lose the 100-day moving average. So again, nothing at all is going to happen for some of these alts that just got murdered in that Bitcoin dump. So our notes and our updates still stand. We're holding currently above that 100-day moving average. But our ideal loading zone would be, you know, around that 700 mark. So we're on watch to see if we lose the 100-day moving average, and we'll get that loading down there in the 700s. Okay. ZIL, also another one we're watching. Same story. No change. This is almost pretty well done, exactly as charted. Look at that nice pop right there on the lower time frames, back to 81. Was a good scalp there. If anybody happened to catch that opportunity from these lows, so you can scalp these patterns down here, guys. I mean, you could scalp them all day. They're not going anywhere. We're not in any danger of them breaking out anytime soon, because I just don't see the strength. But anytime that these come down and touch these bottom patterns in these heavy support zones, you can grab them and catch a bounce. So right there was 15% already. And of course, if you're on CoinDCX with 4x leverage, that would have been 60% profit. So same with ZIL. Look at the cluster of candles, the confluence here. You got these bottom here. Excuse me. Yeah, there's bottom here and these wicks here, confluence of candles here and here and here. So this would be a good support resistance flip. Also right here off of the confluence of the 200-day and the 100-day moving average. So we want to see our ZIL hold here above about 65. Now there is also that off chance that it can wick down as far as 59. Let's go ahead and say 60. But again, we don't want to consider that just yet until we, you know, start to break this 65 zone, because we are holding a nice little pattern right here up above it. So I am watching to see if we just kind of float and hang out above 70 Satoshi. If we do, phenomenal pattern. Weekly, look at the weekly here. Weekly doesn't look too bad. Look at our 7-day. We're about to cross bullish over the 20-day moving average. And if that happens, then that would really kind of lean into that we hold here above 70 Satoshi. And sometime, maybe hopefully next week, ZIL can catch a reversal and start pushing. Because the last I looked like the order books were pretty solid in favor of the bulls. Kinda. There's about 500,000 bids. Is that 500,000? No, that's 5 million. So there's about 5 million on the bids down to 70 Satoshi, and about 5 million on the sell side up to about 100. So there's a far more bid support stacked in a tighter range than there are sell side. So let me... Okay, so in this little box right here, there are 500,000 on the bids. And from up here, let's just say from here to up here, it's the same amount. So we're much more congested with bid support in this tighter range than we are up here. So it's pretty suggestive, so to speak, that we are going to hold this pattern here before catching a reversal. But again, Bitcoin is king, and of course can screw the whole party for everybody. So far, Raven, Komodo, and ZIL are doing absolutely perfectly as charted. So there's really no change. Alright, so Tomo. Move on to Tomo chain. Tomo has been an absolute real pain in the ass to watch. I'm not gonna lie, especially on these higher time frames. These candles just looked horrible. They looked really scary, but we are catching that nice breakout. Now look at this wick right here. So this wick up here that happened, you know, early this morning, almost to 6,500, broke the tops of these. So it did make a new high on this wick, and that is suggestive of a continuation of that uptrend up to roughly, hopefully, that 8,000 mark. So the 3-day here, we're still quite bullish. Our MACD did cross over, so I hope to see, you know, a strong push up to that zone before rolling over to come back down, just as we got charted here. So there's really no change in Tomo. It's on a good path, good track. Nice strong 2-day candle, nice strong 2-day push on that MACD. So I mean, we're not looking too bad. We're looking pretty good. So no change. I'd still like to see that 8,000 mark on Tomo come up and test the tops of these candles right here, and then roll back over for another reset and see if we can't put in yet another higher low here, probably back at about 5,800. So Tomo's right on track. All right. Wanchain is also absolutely right on track. So this is what I was talking about with all these other altcoins that we've been watching. Look how we've tested double bottom here off of the confluence of our moving average, the 100-day right here, and the 200-day, which is quite literally what all of these other altcoins look like. So here we are at Komodo, here we are at Raven, and here we are at ZIL. So this is exactly what I wanted to see for Wanchain, and that's exactly what I'm hoping to see for the other altcoins as well. And look at our MACD. We're going to get a little bit of a push. Now, on the higher time frames for WAN, we aren't fully ready for a reversal. I think we'll still maybe catch one more little dip. I don't know. If that daily rolls up, we'll see. So what I'm expecting for the MACD here on the 12 hours to come up, catch that little reset, and then come back down one more time, and then that'll be it. That'll be the last and the lowest that WAN will likely ever see down here in this 2,500 area mark. So that's what I'm hoping on. Okay, so we did flag right here. We did put a bull flag in. Now, I'm not expecting higher at the moment. Not expecting higher than this little zone right here, up to, you know, 3,100, 3,200 or so, because this is still a resistance. So for this to really go full bull, we have to break this resistance, flip it into support, and then push. Otherwise, we're going to do pretty well exactly what I got charted right here with this line. So we can come up, test that resistance, and then catch that one last dip going into next month, and might come back and test that bottom once more, 2,600 or so, and then that'll probably be the lowest WAN chain sees for a very long time, because they've been putting out updates and protocol, all that stuff, like crazy lately, and they are still an extremely low cap, or undervalued now at this point, for the coin that they are. They're 30 million in a market cap right now, and they only got 106 million in supply. So it's a good candidate to see a strong reversal. And from the weekly time frame, let me go ahead and close all that out. From the weekly standpoint, that is a nice little catch on that weekly candle. To put in a nice little signal for a reversal. Now look again here. So we got 3 weeks of candles over this 20-day moving average, this blue line, not even a wick below. So that's a very strong sign for WAN into the coming weeks. And our 7-day moving average right here also is breaking over the 20-day moving average right there. You can see it just so slightly right there. Our green line crossed over our blue, so that is a good bullish reversal sign. So if anybody is looking for like an uber swing trade on WAN, it is really not far-fetched to say that we don't come up and, you know, at least see that area there. I don't even know if I want to go that high. But given its supply, given the project that WAN is, and given its market cap, I mean, it's not far-fetched to say that this sees, you know, at least, let me bring this down. I want to put this down here instead, off of the bottoms of these wicks here. So it's pretty, most certainly possible to see WAN do a 200 to 300% run leading up into summertime. It's got the setup. It's certainly got the setup, and it's got the bullish crossovers. Look at the MACD here. So you got these flattened out candles right here on the MACD histogram. So the next one should push going into next week, and then start a nice reversal. So I mean, the setup's there. It just now needs to follow through and get that push. So if you're looking for a swing, these are your targets up here. About 98, 9,900 Satoshi up to about 12.3 or so. So a lot of potential, a lot of open room for WAN. Good project. All right, Theta. Theta has also pretty well been doing quite literally as we had charted. We are still holding over this accumulation zone flip. So this is what I want to see for Raven. So I think Raven might be right here as far as this pattern goes. So with Raven, this green line on Raven coin would be about that 300 Satoshi mark or so, roughly. And that's kind of what we're holding. So we want to see a flip of the accumulation zones on Raven, just like we see here on Theta, which is what these yellow boxes are. So this was our accumulation zone, and we flipped it here, and we re-accumulated above that zone. And of course there's that one little flash crash down below before reversing. So this is what I want to see for Raven, and it's a pretty similar chart setup. So we should be somewhere right here for Raven, roughly. So as far as Theta goes, I don't think Theta is fully out of the woods yet. Great daily hold right here. So look at this here. Look at the Look at our wicks right here off of the 20-day moving average. No candle close below, only wicks. And you guys know me, I don't count wicks. I mean, candle bodies, candle opens, candle closes, that's what I look at. So theta is looking pretty solid. It was noted that 1200 to 1250 was our holdover zone, and we did not break below that. I would like to see one more drop though. So I would like to see it continue to reject right here off of this 20-day moving average on the 12-hour. Catch that one last drop, and then that's it. That's all she wrote. So I want to see one more pullback under 1300, and you load that puppy up and let it ride. But as it stands now, I mean, it looks pretty damn good, guys. Theta looks really good. So we would put a structure on this, higher low there. I guess we can technically call this an ascending triangle. What I'm hoping we don't see on theta is, well, I mean, we can maybe see that. One more dip would be fine, but what I don't want to see is, and it just breaks out and reverses from there. I don't want to see that. I want to see one more down. I want to see one more pullback to that 1200 zone, and then that's game on. So again, from a weekly standpoint, theta looks absolutely beautiful. I don't know. I don't think theta may come back down. Looking at this weekly like this. So let's zoom in right here. So look at this wick. The wick did not break that 7-day moving average. So all that dump that happened on theta, the bulls bought it up off of that wick and pushed it back up. So that is a very strong bullish signal there for theta. And something you can also look for on other coins too, is the relationship of that 7-day moving average. So the bulls held over that 7-day moving average and bought that puppy right back up, and that's a solid, what, 15% bounce? Rough, yeah, it sure is. So theta looks absolutely incredible from a weekly standpoint. So for a swing trade, I don't think, since we already tested this resistance here off of this wick, I don't think it's, you know, too hard to say that we're going to come up and test this upper zone next at 2500. So going into spring, next couple months, we'll come up and we'll test that zone. So let's see what that is from current price. So current price, from current price, over the next several weeks, I mean, there's still about an 80% chance, or 80% profit potential there. And if you're using DCX and you got a good entry in the 300s or 1200s even, I mean, you can let that puppy ride and just let it float out for the next couple months up to, you know, 320% potential profit there. So theta looks incredible, to be honest. And this, again, is what I want to see for Raven. So Raven has got to flip that zone on the weekly. Let's compare. Okay, so note this whole pattern, this whole structure right here. And look how similar that is to theta there. So Raven should catch one more nice solid push, and then we'll come back and we'll consolidate just like theta did and flip that support zone. Very similar structures. Okay, so Algo. Algo is another hot one that's everybody's talking about, looking at it right now. Super solid push off that bottom there, but it looks like we're getting some nasty rejections right now. Wow, that did 100% already since about the beginning of the month, roughly. Okay, this one looks pretty well done. Look at this. Look at this candle right here in the center. This is a shooting star, a big shooting star candle. So when you see something like this nasty rejection candle, it's a signal that that trend is going to be over. And now we have a drop candle here, but our 7-day is still in an uptrend. So if you're gonna scalp it, you can scalp it on lower time frames until that 7-day rolls over, and then price should still kind of, you know, fluctuate up here above about 4,100, 4,200 or so before, and then it'll get another test up here to maybe 43 or something. And then when that 7-day rolls over, then you can you know, back out of it and not touch it. Because look at it here. So here's a roll and it dropped. Here's a roll and it dropped. And now we're just going to plop down a support zone. So we want to see, it might be a little low. So about 3,900 or so, we'd want to see algo kind of flip and see if it holds as support. But currently, it's not looking too hot, and you can see the divergence right here too. Look at the bearish divergence. Okay, so our price is not making a higher high, or I'm sorry, our RSI is failing to make a higher high, but our price did. So that is a clear definition of a bearish divergence. Okay, so I want to see a flip again right back down here at about, let's just call that 4,000 Satoshi, and see if we can't do that. Okay, so this might be over the next several days. All right, band. We're gonna kind of speed this up just a little bit. We're just running through these because again, across the board, there's some alts that are outperforming, but most of the ones that we're stuck in are, well, most of the ones that we're stuck in are just stuck. Okay, so Band has a really low market cap, I think. Let me check to see what it is real quick. Band. Okay, so Band Band can have a lot of room to run. So they have a max supply of 100 million coins. Only 17 million of them are circulating. So it has a really low supply. And its market cap is only, you know, it's under 7 million. So there's lots and lots of room to run there for Band. And it looks, I mean, it's not looking too shabby. So if let's zoom out here to the 3-day, very strong push. Lots of room left in the MACD, good amount of room left in the RSI. But we are going to be hitting up into these rejection zones over here. Okay, so look, we got a wick here, we got a wick here, and we got a wick here, and a wick over here. So the bears really wanted to defend Band and hold it under about 4,800. So it's still got a little bit of room left to test that resistance. About 13% more to go, and that'll be the true test there. Because if we look at, we've already broken this wick, we've already broken this wick, so this would be our next test of resistance right there. Strong 7-day moving average, strong 3-day candles. So if we break that little resistance right there, I mean, Band could really do some serious damage here. We can come up, flip that support, and just do something. I mean, I don't know. It's going to go into price discovery. But I know there's quite a few of you guys that were watching Band. 2-day very strong. Look at the candle. Look at this 2-day candle right here above the 7-day moving average. Still a strong uptrend. So I don't see anything at this point for a swing trade wrong with Band. Band looks really good. I want to see if we can catch an entry somewhere if anybody missed an entry. So we're diverging a little bit on lower time frames. Okay, here's a high, a higher high, and a higher high. And our RSI is failing to make that higher high. So here's a high, and then here's a lower high. Whereas price is making a higher high each time. So that could be suggestive that we're going to roll, maybe catch a support bounce here at about 3,800 to retest this support here. Flip it as support right there once again. Because look, you got this little support base here, and you got just these two little candles that just kind of wick below it here, but they still match with the tops here and some tops here. So we might catch a small pullback to about 3,800, flip this support, and then catch the next push up. So that's what we can watch for right there. But on the high time frames, I mean, this looks really good. I mean, once it crosses this resistance right here at 4,800, I mean, it's pretty well going to go into price discovery. This is an ugly drop right there. All right, let me check on Tomo. Okay, Tomo, thank you for not screwing me right now. You just keep on pushing, buddy. Okay, Aeon. I don't know how people pronounce that. Aeon or Aeon is another one that I've seen you guys kind of ask about and question. This was an incredible amount of freaking volume and loading. I mean, look at how big these volume candles are and how it did absolutely nothing to price right there. That is the most volume ever for Ion. So let's see what the weekly looks like. Strong buyback here on the weekly. Again, just like WAN did. Look at these wicks right here. The bottom of these wicks all kind of hitting at that same point and wicked right off the tip of the 7-day moving average, and bulls bought that up in a big way. That was a incredible 24% buyback. Holy crap. So Ion, if there is no other rejection and Bitcoin doesn't ruin the party, well, it's kind of obvious where this is going to go. Look at your heavy confluence zones of candles up here. That's where I'd look to sell for a swing trade. Heavy confluence of candle resistances here, and there's not much in between right here, because if you look right here in this whole gap, that is a resistance gap, because outside of that wick, there's nothing until this minor resistance here. So Aeon can pretty well do this, catch a small pullback, and then push continuously, or continue to push. So even from current price, I mean, it's got about a 2x looking at it going into spring as well. So 2-month, 3-month hold maybe. Ion could most certainly test up here in that 38 to 4,300 Satoshi range. On a very nice swing trade. For entry, let me remove that. Not much to say for entry. I mean, we rejected here at this resistance again, but we're also ranging our support right here. That is a pretty big gap though. I mean, that's 20%. So I'd say anything under 1,400 is a good buy, but I probably wouldn't buy it with leverage. But we're going to get a better entry. Look at the 2-hour. 2-hour is going under. So I would look right about there at about 1200 for a buy. So we want to kind of just snake down there and see if we can test 1200 for a buy. So I mean that's it, guys. Some hope for some coins, not so much for others. Bitcoin really did a number on these alts. I mean, most of them are holding up pretty well. WAN, I think, is going to pull an Aeon because, I mean, this almost, or an Ion or whatever, because these are almost identical. So the bulls really stepped in and really picked that up and pushed that up quite nicely. Theta weekly looks really, really good. And of course algo is coming down and all that. So that's it, guys. That's it for most of the alts across the board. I'm not expecting any kind of movement until early next month, so they're kind of in that consolidating phase where you can start loading up for some swing trades going into the, into spring or whatever. And dominance with it trending down is also a pretty good sign for altcoins as well. So we'll keep keeping an eye on alts, keep updating them, seeing if there's other plays out there. So we just kind of ran through the ones that we're actively looking at. So if you guys got any requests of other coins or whatever, shoot them out there in chat, and we'll get them looked at. Thanks.